give you. I was studying in the National University of Singapore. It's such a long time ago, I'm trying to think. I was here in 1991 and I graduated in 1995, 96. I was in law school. I understand law school is no more here. It's gone back to the Bukit Timah campus, so the law faculty is extinct as far as this campus is concerned. But I have good memories of the university, mainly because of the fact that in law school, we had the most free time of all the faculties. The engineering faculty used to curse us very much because they said when you compare the hours that you spend in tutorials and lectures compared to ours, you fellas have too much of a good deal. The idea in law school was we had about 9 to 10 hours a week, which, looking at your faces now, I can see why you're getting angry with me. That gave us a lot of time, a lot of flexibility, but law required a lot of self-study. So you were supposed to study and study and study. I was lucky because I had good friends who studied very hard. Right? So that was also very helpful. When I was in junior college, I was also extremely lucky. I was in Victoria Junior College. There was this girl who was studying very hard. She was always seated next to me. And she made the best notes. They were so clean and so neat. She had different colors for different parts of the lectures. I'm colorblind, by the way, so I couldn't see the colors. But I could appreciate her notes. So I made good friends with her, and I got all the good notes. And the thing that irritated her most was while she did all the good notes, I got the better grades. So that was how it was. Later on, I actually married this girl. She's my wife today. So that's how I've come here. And I want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming on a Saturday. You could be anywhere else, Most of you may not want to stay on campus, at least on weekends, after spending most of your time here from Monday to Friday. So really, on behalf of all the devotees who have worked very hard here, a warm welcome to all of you. A warm welcome to all of you. Now, what is the purpose of organizing such an event? The main reason why we organize such an event is so that we all get in touch with our culture. That's the key. Now, this culture that we are speaking about is not an Indian culture. It's not a culture which is based along divisions of caste, creed, religion. The culture that I'm speaking about today is actually the culture of love. And when we understand this culture of love, you will find, frankly speaking, in the next 1-2 hours, that it doesn't matter where you came from, which part of Singapore you came from, which part of India you come from, but all that matters is whether you can take something back with you today that will make you a little bit more happier, a little bit more peaceful. And if you take back what we speak about and what we share about today with you, and maybe you try practicing it, you might find that that happiness that you're getting now may just last a little bit longer. What's the difference between happiness and bliss, ladies and gentlemen? Happiness is that which is dependent on something external. If you have a good friend and you're going to watch a movie with the person, he doesn't turn up, then half the fun is lost. Because half the fun was in actually watching the movie with your friend. But bliss is different. When someone says someone is blissful, it means that happiness you have is not dependent on anything external. It is coming from within you. That is something that we want. Why? Because happiness, you will realize by now, because most of you have lived at least half your life, I can see now, and most of you may have lived past half your life, but most of you will agree with me that whatever happiness you've experienced in your life, it comes in fits and starts. For that moment of happiness, you are the most happiest person in the world. And before you know it, something has come to just disturb that happiness. I remember whenever I was studying for my exams, at that point of time, I became a very pious individual. I would go to all the temples, I would start praying, and my mother would know just by all my prayers that exams were around the corner. But at that point, when I was doing the exams, I was in so much of tension. But do you remember the last day of your exam when you put down your pen or your paper, and how do you feel? At that moment you feel absolute happiness. Some of you may even say it's bliss. But 3 months, 2 months later, when you wait for your results and they come around the corner, then that night before you go and get your results, it's a very difficult night. And by the time you get your results in the morning and you start comparing it with all the friends, then you realize that that happiness you had is actually mixed. So we are in the business of looking for permanent happiness. Is it possible? I want you to decide it when you go back. Right? That's not a question I'm going to answer. That's a question for each one of you in your life to find out. So today what we're going to do is, we're going to speak a little bit about a very interesting topic. You may have come here thinking that I'm going to speak to you about the Bhagavad Gita. Actually I am, and I'm going to speak to you about all the essence of all the scriptures of the world. But I'm going to speak specifically on this topic known as the golden shortcut. Right? And in a while you'll understand why we call it the golden shortcut. You may not understand the significance of golden, not yet. But shortcut everybody likes. So if someone speaks about a shortcut, then I hope you will hear, and maybe something will be useful to you. Okay? Now, everyone can hear me? I'm not grating on your ears, I'm not speaking too loud, like you feel that you have to run out, no, right? Okay, let me know if I irritate you, please do not do that now. Okay, we start today's presentation or sharing with a very important verse from Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is one of the very important scriptures of the world, along with the Bible, along with the Quran, along with the Granth. And all these scriptures, they are very important to our lives. There is one verse in Bhagavad Gita which is very, very fundamental to what we are speaking today. And is found in the 4th chapter, text 7. Here, very nicely it is stated by Krishna to Arjuna. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadadmanam srijami aham. So Krishna is speaking to Arjuna and he's telling him this point. He tells Arjuna, Arjuna, I want you to know this. Whenever and wherever, in any place, if I see that there is a decline in religious practice, when some kind of spirituality is missing, when moral and ethical principles are declining, then Krishna says something interesting. He says, at that point of time, I descend myself. The concept is known in some circles as avatar. Right? I'm sure by now everyone is familiar with the word avatar. If you were not, and you have seen the movie, everyone would know at least the name avatar. Right? So I'm not even going to tell you anything about that. So that's the concept. The concept is, every now and then, in the world that we live, you find that there are declining status of morals and ethics. Your parents will probably turn around and tell you, 50 years ago, the world was a much different place. And then your elder brothers will probably tell you, nowadays you people are too much. You people speak funny language, you people do funny things. In those days, we wouldn't do anything. I remember my grandfather, grandmother, and everyone telling us, up till the day we were going to get married, we never saw who we were getting married to. By your laughs, I know what you're thinking. Just imagine today if you were told by your father, tomorrow you have to come here and you have to just get married. Who am I getting married to? Doesn't matter, you're just getting married. It'll never happen. It'll never happen. But things have changed, times have changed. But the Bhagavad Gita remains relevant. Because this point is very important. Every time there is a problem in this world, the Lord, the Supreme, He tells us that somehow or another He comes back to this world. Okay? Now He comes here naturally to do one thing. He comes here to try somehow or another to make the people in this world that we are living in happier, more peaceful, and of course, to become more peaceful. There is another verse in another part of the scripture known as Bhagavatam. And in that verse, there is a description, a prediction that was given thousands and thousands of years ago. Because Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, historically speaking, should be at least 5,000 years or more. That's what most scholars agree. Now, In this verse, we find an introduction to a personality known as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How many of you have heard that name before? A quick hands up. Okay, nice, many of you. Okay, for those who have not heard it also, keep getting. Now over here there's a prediction. In this prediction it is stated, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangashtra Apsadam Yadve Sankirtana Praye Yajantihi Sumeda Saha. In this age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of God, known as Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, his servants, his weapons, his confidential companions. So that is the starting point for what we're discussing. We're introducing to you a personality who is known as an avatar. We're introducing to you a personality who lived the principles of the Bhagavad Gita, who lived the principles of the scriptures. Why is this more important than just speaking about a religious concept? Simply because you and I are persons. We would want to know how someone lived their lives, because that way it makes it so much more easier for us to identify with someone. If I were to speak to you about concepts, you will go back home with concepts. But if I were to speak to you about a person who lived those concepts, it becomes more practical. Always remember, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of you and I coming together should not be a formality. It should never be a ritual. It should not be that I'm speaking something that sounds very high-flown. You hear it, I speak it, you go back, you have no idea what I said. I speak it, I have no idea what I said. And at the end of the day, I've wasted your time and you have wasted my time. You know, there was this story about these people who went for a lecture by a very powerful spiritual master. And he was speaking very high-flown philosophy. Then when they came out, you know, they were speaking amongst themselves, oh, what a wonderful lecture that was. Someone came out and asked them, so what was he trying to tell you? And they said, you know something, it was so high up in the sky, we have no idea what he was saying. But it sounded good anyway. That's not the purpose for which we come together. Right? So this is the point. Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Who is this personality that we are speaking about? Now, historically speaking, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life was recorded by two persons. This is to give you a flavor that the person we are speaking about is not a legendary personality who never existed. He is a recorded historical personality. He appeared as recently as 1486 in India. And there were two persons who recorded all his activities throughout his life. One is a person known as Murari Gupta. He was a medical practitioner, right? He was a doctor. And in the later part of Mahaprabhu's life, there was another person known as his private secretary, Srila Swarup Damodar. So these two persons recorded what I am going to share with you. And they recorded it extensively. So that today we get to know a lot about the descent of such a personality. Very useful for all of us, especially when it's just been about 500 odd years ago, which is not very far away. So this is how we know something about Mahaprabhu. And the last person, but probably the most important recorder of Mahaprabhu's life, is this personality known as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He was a very saintly personality, and he compiled what both other recorders, Murari Gupta and Swarup Damodar, put, and he has put it together, and he has put an entire book on the life, teachings and practice of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay? So that's the recording, that's the historical part of it. Now, there is a great personality of modern times known as Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, known as ISKCON around the world. Prabhupada gives us a very interesting definition of who Mahaprabhu is. It gives us an idea of what we are getting into. Prabhupada described Mahaprabhu as the great apostle, not of God, but of the love of God. Very important. Apostle can mean Messiah, it can mean prophet, it can mean saint, but it means someone who lived his life teaching us how to love God. That's one. The second description Prabhupada gives is very nice. He says that Mahaprabhu is the father of congregational preaching, congregational chanting. Now what's congregational chanting? It's not a new concept. It's actually a concept that's been around a long time. Now all of us have our time where we put aside time for meditation, for prayers, we go to the temples, we do so many things. Congregational chanting simply means all of us are now in one LT and we all start chanting together. Maybe we meditate together. Maybe we sit down and chant a mantra together. This chanting together is considered as congregational chanting. Why is it considered so powerful? Because most Hindus and even Buddhists and many people around the world, they believe that the force and power of a mantra is in the vibration that you get when you chant it. Even in modern day yoga circles, you will find yoga practitioners telling you at the end of the day to sit down silently or to meditate or look within. And sometimes they will tell you to be very patient and perhaps chant, maybe a syllable. It's been long recognized all over the world that there are certain words and syllables that have vibrations. They can be positive or they can be negative. If I were to come up to someone and scold that person in English language, the vibrations of those words will actually hurt you. Even if you don't know a particular language, have you been in a country where you're not sure of the language but you see someone talking to you and you know he's not being very nice to you? You can feel the vibrations. Have you been in a hall and you have seated yourself somewhere and you're speaking? Oh no, okay. Have you been in a hall and look at me, I'm now standing here looking at all of you. If you all started looking at me very angrily, I think I will stop the lecture right now. Don't do that, please. If you all looked at me as if, I'm going to sleep, I will lose interest and I will start yawning myself. Why? Because you're giving me the vibration and I am reciprocating. Same principle, congregation chanting. The chanting is in the vibrations. The vibrations is the chanting. The effect of it, you will practically feel in about an hour, hour and a half, when we actually try it out together. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually is the father of this kind of chanting. He started this whole concept. He gave it width and depth across India, and today it's all over the world. All over. And the last description of him is very interesting. He's known as Kali Yuga Pavana. Right? In other words, he's a beacon of light in the darkness of Kali. Which now brings me to the next question that you probably asked and I have to answer. What is Kali? What does Kali refer to? Some of us may know, some of us may not know. Kali is a description of the times that we are living in. Have you heard of the golden age of maybe India? Historically, have you heard of Renaissance in Europe? These were ages that were defined by achievements. Right? In Vedic traditions, you will find that this entire age where we are living right now, right here, 2012, is known as part of Kali Yuga. Yuga means age. Now, every age is characterized by certain characteristics. And very interestingly, our scriptures tell us in Kali Yuga, there are few things that are happening every day. Okay? You can tick it off in your heads if you want, and you can ask yourself whether it applies to the world that you live in or whether it applies to you. Now, our scriptures tell us that in this age of Kali, four things will happen. Men and women will have illicit connections. You find this happening more and more. The common term today, the legal term today is known as cohabitation. People tend to prefer to cohabit instead of cohabit. Sometimes people have illicit connections and they destroy the fabric of morality. So that's one of the symptoms that happens. Second symptom, there is meat eating everywhere. Whether or not you want to believe it, historically speaking, even in ancient India, there is very little evidence of meat being the primary diet of anyone. It was mostly non-meat. But today, vegetarians have actually become the minority of the minority of the minority. One of the symptoms. Third symptom, intoxication. Intoxication is everywhere. And everyone believes either you're a hardcore drinker or you're a social drinker. And the last but not least, there is great pleasure in gambling. That's why Singapore hopped in, and you have Marina Bay Sands, and you have all other resorts which are coming up. For a long time, the government of Singapore said, no, we are not going to have the casinos because we don't want that kind of immorality in society. But today we have it, not very far from where we are, and it's there. So where there is gambling, where there is illicit connection, where there is meat eating, and where there is intoxication, Kali is present. And where these four prominent symptoms are there, then the deterioration of four ethics they go. The first, cleanliness and purity. The second, mercy. The third, austerity. And the fourth, truthfulness. And actually, if you want to know, very interestingly, each one is linked to the other one at the top. Wherever there is illicit affairs, the principle of cleanliness and purity will go. Or at least they will decline. Where there is meat eating, there is a drop in mercy. Where there is intoxication, there is no austerity. It's very hard for an intoxicated man to learn to be austere. Difficult. And last but not least, where there is gambling, it's very hard to be truthful. Very difficult. So keep in mind that these are the symptoms of this age. There's something else here that's not written here, but I think you should know, because that you will definitely identify with. Kali is best identified by two things: quarrel and hypocrisy. The scriptures tell us in this age, for two people to sit down and not quarrel is surprising. In today's world, if two friends can really remain friends without having a difference of ideas which come down to a quarrel, it will be amazing. How many of you have had best friends from your primary school days and you're still keeping them? I admire you. Excellent. You are not touched by Kali. How many of you have got married and the first year was honeymoon and the second year is all quarrels? My hand is down, my wife is here. Okay. So what Kali says, in this age, it is very hard to maintain good friendships, lasting friendships. Because at some point, either we will see hypocrisy or there will be differences of opinions that will divide us. Now, if we are living in such an age, then what is the purpose? How can we come out of this quarrel? How can we come out of this hypocrisy? How can we come out of this morality, decline and whatnot? How can we come out of this age where we are always disturbed? Oh, by the way, I forgot. The effect of all this is to cause people disturbance in their hearts, in their minds, in their lives. Now that I think you all can identify with. If a day goes by without us being anxious or disturbed, that is a surprising day. Isn't it not so? It's amazing if that day ever happens. In fact, if that day ever happens, most probably you either slept through the whole day, or you were unconscious for the whole day, or you were dead for the whole day. Because to be disturbed in this world is natural. So what do we do? How to come out of this disturbance? There is one way. The scriptures tell us there is one way. And here it is stated in this verse, that although Kali is an ocean of faults, that's how it's described, it's an ocean of faults, so much faults. Aren't we also into that, fault finding? That's the other symptom of this age. If we look at someone, very, very seldom do we try and find the good qualities in that person. The chancellor will say, he's very nice, he's this, he's that, but when that but comes, that's where all the, well, I find he's not like that, he's not like this, he's not like that. And while we're doing all these criticisms and fault findings, we never bother to look at ourselves. And God only knows how many of these faults that we see in others we have. Like the saying goes, it takes a thief to know a thief. So if you can see faults in others, chances are it's because you have those faults yourself. But the beauty of Kali is, there may be so many faults in this world today, but the scriptures tell us, don't worry too much. There is one single quality that you can take back with you today, right after you leave. And what is that quality? The quality is that you can chant the holy names of God. Now let me make it very clear that the holy names of God number in the millions. The holy name of God is not confined simply to Hindu. The holy names of God are found in the Bible. The holy names of God are found in abundance in the Quran. The holy names of God are found very sweetly in the Granth. It is found in all the major scriptures. Every major scripture tells you to glorify the good Lord. They tell you to chant His names and His glories. These are not terms which are alien to us. But sometimes we don't realize the true value of chanting. And that's what this is about. Here in this day and age, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he told us that you can just simply chant the names of God, because He has so many different names. Chant His names. And in particular, he chanted one particular name, and that was the name known as the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It goes like this: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. And what did he say? He said that if you can chant the holy names of God, wherever you are, in whichever part of the world you come from, whichever names of God that you have from your religion, then two things would happen to you. You become free of disturbance, material bondage. And second, you actually become promoted to the transcendental kingdom. Not when you die, but even now while you are living. That is very good. Because sometimes people come and tell me, all this is good, but you're talking about things that will happen after we die. Why wait till then? Why not now? And yes, it can happen even now. So that's the golden benefit of Kali, right? That's the shortcut that we're speaking about. Next question. Why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu come to this world? Why? I've given you a hint. The first and main reason he came for is the last reason you find here, which I've put down as most important. So most importantly, he came to tell all of us that life and spiritual life, religion, can become very simple. All you have to do is to just chant the names of the Lord and chant them as sincerely, as lovingly as you can. And you'll find all the quarrels stop, all the disturbances stop, all the anxieties you can tolerate, and all the difficulties you can withstand. So that was his first purpose. There are three other purposes to which he came. Mahaprabhu came because there was this devotee of God known as Advaita Acharya, and he prayed very hard, looking at the terrible effects of this world, looking at everyone being disturbed. He prayed very hard to God, and he asked God, "Could you please come and show us the way to become peaceful, to become happy." Second, Mahaprabhu came to re-establish love of God in our hearts. Now, when I speak to you about love, ladies and gentlemen, it's not an alien concept. All of us love our parents, we love our children, we love everyone. We even love ourselves, hopefully, right? We all love ourselves. But something is missing in that love. Because very often when we love something so that we can get something back. The only thing that comes closest to the love of God in this world is actually the love between a mother and child. How many of you are mothers? Okay, I asked for mothers, but quite a few fathers put up their hands. That's fine. Perfectly fine. I'm not saying anything, I'm just noting it, that's all. Okay. Okay, you didn't hear me. How many of you are mothers? Yes? Now mothers, you would know one thing. I'm a father, so I know this. Not because I'm a mother. No matter what I do with my children, no matter how I bribe them and try to tell them that I will do more things for them than my wife will ever do, the moment they're in trouble, where do the children go to? 9 out of 10, they go back to their mothers. They will gravitate to mothers. When they're sick, who do they find? They run back to mother. Father brings them to the clinic, they come to the house, they go to mother. In any situation, you buy, you do anything, you try bribing them also, nothing works. Only for a while, they go back to mother. This is the unconditional love a child has for mother. Now you ask the mothers. Sometimes children grow up to be murderers, they grow up to be crooks, number one, they grow up to be absolute demons. But when you turn to the fathers, fathers may say, I wash my hands of this son of mine. You turn to the mothers, they say, whatever he is my son. Whatever she is my daughter. Isn't it true? And you wonder, she must be blind. But not true. Because God has made mothers in such a way that there must be some place for the villains of the world to turn back to, isn't it? There must be some place where all the mistakes and faults that we have can be given shelter. This unconditional love that a mother has for a child, and a child, particularly a mother has for a child. A mother doesn't want anything from the child. The mother has the satisfaction of sacrificing and saying, this keeps me happy. This is enough. That's the closest you get to love of God. That's the closest you get to understanding this love of God. So Mahaprabhu said, if you can develop love, not just for your family, for your friends, we're not asking you to not love your family anymore. We're not telling you to become sadhus and leave everyone and go to a cave and meditate. No. Do your degrees. Get married. Have your children. But you put God in the center of your life. Then everyone else becomes happy. That's the only difference Mahaprabhu spoke about. And the last but interesting point why he came is because he himself wanted to taste the love that his devotees have for him. So Mahaprabhu came in the mood of a devotee. Not in the mood that I am an avatar. But he came in the mood that I want to know what it is to be a devotee. Slight difference. If Mahaprabhu is such a great personality, then what is the significance of the holy name? I must tell you all about the holy name. This verse applies to every holy name of God. We're using the term Krishna because Krishna is found in Vedic culture. But the name of God is so powerful that this is how powerful it is. One, if you chant the holy names of God, all scriptures tell us the holy name of God is blissful. If you chant something that's blissful, what will happen to you? You become blissful. Second, it gives you all benedictions. Not the benedictions of lottery, first prize in 4D, a new car, a new house, a new wife. No. Right? Because old wife may go, but new wife doesn't guarantee happiness. The same goes for husbands also, right? What it tells you is, there is something beyond matter which actually gives you more permanence in your happiness. That is spirit. Third, it tells you that the name of God is complete. You don't need to go anywhere else and do anything else. You don't have to change to what I'm wearing to chant the holy names of God. No, you don't have to. You can be who you are. You can be where you are. And you can chant. No hard fast rules. Because the name is complete. When you go take a bath, do you give bath to your soap first before you eat? No, right? You just take up your soap and you start soaping yourself. Do you think that, no, the soap is dirty, it requires a bath, and then I'll use it and then I'll bathe myself? Nobody does that. Because everyone understands the soap is cleansing agent. It's meant to just cleanse. You don't have to clean it. The name is like that. You don't have to be pure to approach the name. The name purifies you. There's a difference. There's a difference. And most importantly, because the name of God is always liberated, always spiritual, therefore, you will also become liberated. You will also become spiritual. That's the beauty of the name. So keep this in mind now, because it becomes very important as we go down the road. Now I'm going to tell you a story. Okay? Enough philosophy. Stories are always much more fun. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came into this world in 1486. He was born to his parents Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata. These are the deity forms of them. They didn't have photographs then, but this is the closest how they look. And he was born in this place known as Navadvip, Nadia, West Bengal. Anyone from there? Wow, amazing. You're all Dhamvasis, huh? That's it. That's what you are. Very nice. Now, what's interesting is, when Mahaprabhu was born, right, there was an eclipse at that time. Okay? Now, It is very customary for a lot of people of Vedic culture that when there is an eclipse, what do? You are supposed to spend more time chanting the names of the Lord. And you take a dip in the holy river known as Ganga. So Mahaprabhu timed his coming in such a significant way that when he came, he forced everyone to chant. Why? Because he came on the day of eclipse. And just as he was being born, the whole of India at that time was actually chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And that is very significant. Why? Because Mahaprabhu showed us that the moment he came, the holy name came with him. That's the significance of it. That wherever he went, he just wanted people to chant. And one thing that's important in chanting, that's very important, is that chanting is a common platform for universal love of mankind. No one can claim that I can chant because I'm Hindu. You can't chant because you're not. No. Anyone can chant. The name doesn't belong to someone. These are just rubber stamps that we have developed. Ultimately, everyone's blood is the same color. I hope. Right? Okay, everyone is. Nobody else is not. So it doesn't matter what color we are. It just matters what character we have. That is the thing. And that's what Mahaprabhu did. Now Mahaprabhu's pastimes when he was young was also very interesting. As a child, you can see him right there, what would he do? He would cry and cry and cry. But the only way to stop him from crying would not be to give him a sweet, to give him toys. What other ways did we do? Or were we given? Sometimes, we would have people dancing up and down and doing funny things, then our children would laugh. No, Mahaprabhu would not take anything like that. But the moment you started chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, what happened? You will become peaceful. So, the young ladies who used to come to the house of Sachi Mata to play, when you have babies, you would come down, you would play with them. What would they do? Their favorite game would be this. Make sure he starts crying first. They would make him cry. Very mean, but they would make him cry first. And after making him cry, then they would chant. And then he would become very peaceful and he would be very smiling. There is a ceremony for a lot of Hindus in Vedic culture. You may have gone through it, some of you. When you are young, when a child is going to take his first grain, or when he's coming to his first point, when he's just going to take his first piece of solid food, apart from that, the children are placed before several items. It is a custom. Some of you may know it. What happens is they put some money, they put some food, and then they put Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam. Or in some places, I'm told, any other scriptures. And then they say, let the child go and take something from there. Now, if the child goes towards the scriptures, it means that he will be spiritually inclined. If he goes towards the money, it means he'll probably be a good businessman. If he goes and eats, well, he's going to spend a lot of his time being in the kitchen. So this is the idea that people had in those days. And sometimes we still do it today. Now, when the little boy, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was young, he was not known as Chaitanya. He was known as Nimai. Right? His name was Nimai when he was young. So when Nimai was young, he was given this choice. He had gold coins and he had Bhagavatam. What did he do? He went straight for Bhagavatam. He completely ignored gold coins. Because we all know, my friends, that gold coins are good, but everyone knows that money doesn't necessarily make you happy. If we had all the money in the world and everyone became happy with money, then, that would be the source of all solutions to all problems. But you know and I know that money is not the source of any, or rather it's not the solution to any problems. Very often it can be the start of many problems. You ask rich people, you have so much money, you should be very happy. And they will sit down with you and educate you how anxious they are despite having so much money. You ask the people who have no money in their pocket, they will tell you, all the rich people are very happy and I am not. There is no end to finding unhappiness in this world. Now, when the Lord was young, we understand that he played even with a snake. And it is not because he was Superman or anything, but simply because he was the embodiment of love. Even animals did not care to hurt him. because he always had the holy name with him, and he was always protected. And you can see this picture of two thieves who wanted to kidnap the Lord. Because when he was young, I don't know how you do it now, but when babies are born and you bring them around, you tend to put gold on them, isn't it? You make them all decorated so they walk around, and hopefully they are a good reflection of their parents. So what happens is, Nimai was also decorated very beautifully because he was very beautiful. And some thieves saw him outside the house and they thought this would be the perfect kidnapping case for us to do. So they kidnapped him and they put him on their shoulders. But Nimai was so captivating, so beautiful, so loving, that they got so charmed by him and they were so mesmerized by him that all they did was, instead of running away from his father's house, they went one round and came right back to where they started. And at the end of the day, they didn't want to kidnap him. They just wanted to spend time with him. Why? Because he had love of God. Now, there is one very interesting episode that is going to be part of our drama in about half an hour to an hour's time, which you will see, which we'll just describe briefly. This is a dealing between Nimai and a Brahmana. Brahmana is a very pious individual. One day, there was this pious Brahmana, and Jagannath Mishra, Nimai's father, invited him over to the house and told him, please come and have some food with us, have some prasad with us. The Brahmana said, okay, I'll come, but I like to cook my own food. Why? Because whatever I cook, I offer it to the Lord. We do that, We always say a prayer before we eat. Whether you're Hindu, Christians, we always give thanks to God for what we've eaten. So it was no different with the Brahmana. Brahmana said, let me cook, and after cooking, I will offer it to God. Now when you're offering it to God at that point of time, nobody should take the food, because the food is meant to be offered. After it has been offered and you take it out and you give it to everyone, then you can take it. If you take it before that, the food is considered spoiled, because you have taken it before God has taken it. So the Brahmana starts cooking and he gets everything ready and he puts it on a plate and offers it to the good Lord. While he's doing that, little Nimai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very mischievous now, he comes in, and what does he do? He sees the Brahmana seated, he sees the food on the table. Doesn't matter whether the food is offered to God or not. After all, I'm an incarnation, I'm an avatar. He is after all offering it to me. What does Nimai do? He runs over to the food and starts eating it. The Brahmana becomes very upset. He says, what is this child doing? This food is meant for God. It's meant for Krishna. At that point of time, Nimai's father comes in and he gets very upset with Nimai. He says, this boy is too much. He's very mischievous. I'm going to give him a good beating today. And Brahmana says, no, don't do it. He's a young boy. You know how young children are. They're just playful. This time, I will do a second round of cooking. And when I've done it, I will offer it. Jagannath Mishra doesn't want to take a chance. He tells his wife Sachimata, you know what? We know how naughty our Nimai is. You go and take him to the neighbor's house, put him there, let the neighboring ladies play with him. They always like to play with him, let him play there. Make sure he doesn't come in and take anything. So the ladies are given the little boy, and Nimai is playing with them. And when Nimai goes there, the ladies start chastising him. They start playing. They say, Nimai, we heard you're very naughty. You went to steal that food. How could you? Nimai tells them, I didn't steal the food. The food was offered to me. Why should I be stealing food that was offered to me? They don't understand it. The ladies say, we don't understand it either. You're confusing us. What do you say? And then they become so mesmerized by Nimai. They say, he's such a cute baby. Let's play with him. And the favorite pastime was to chant and sing. So as the ladies were chanting and singing, and they were so caught up with singing, Nimai escapes. Runs back to the house. Brahmana's just finished his second round of cooking. Puts the plate there, sits down to offer, opens his eyes, Nimai is eating. Brahmana says, hi, this is very bad. Mishraji, the father, comes out and says, this is too much, now you're getting the stick. And at that point in time, again the Brahmana says, no, don't do that. If I was the Brahmana, I would have said, please do that. The Brahmana was very kind, He said, no, you can't do that. He's a young boy, it's okay. So then Jagannath Mishra says, okay, this time you have to cook. Brahmana says, no, it's 2 in the morning, I'm not going to cook now. Let me just eat something very light and I will be relaxed. Then Nimai's elder brother, Vishwarup, comes in. He's very beautiful, very handsome, very mesmerizing. And he pleads with the Brahmana, you please cook, sir, for the third time. Nothing will happen. He swear to you. And then what happens? He agrees. Nimai is put to sleep. Heavily guarded in his room. Room is locked. Everyone is sleeping. The Brahmana cooks. Everything is quiet. He sits down to eat. As he's sitting down, he calls, my dear Lord, come. Nimai's eyes open. Everyone is asleep. Nimai wakes up, opens the door, comes in front of Brahmana. Brahmana's eyes are closed. He's praying, offering, opens his eyes. Nimai is eating. And Brahmana says, this is too much. And Nimai says, why this is too much? This is not my fault. You have asked me to eat, and I'm eating now. What is wrong? At that point of time, Nimai changes his form. He is not little Nimai. He is none other than little boy Krishna, who is known as none other than the Supreme Lord. The same Krishna that this Brahmana was worshipping. The deity that the Brahmana worshipped was known as Gopal. And now he saw the same Gopal in front of him where Nimai had stood. And now he began to understand. So that's why you keep eating what I'm giving. Because you and Nimai are not different. I haven't got it yet. But now I'm getting it. And at that point, Nimai tells the Brahmana, don't you remember me from your past previous lives? I've always been the object of your worship. But now I am not blackish like Krishna. I'm golden. And my name is Nimai. So that's where the golden part of the shortcut comes from. That the boy Nimai was always golden in color. He was very effulgent in color. So the Brahmana became so happy that he became completely in ecstasy. Nimai said, don't worry. Don't tell anyone that I am here. Because I don't want the world to know that I have come as an avatar. I just want the world to know that to love God, you just have to be sincere, honest, and chant His names. That's all you have. And the form vanished, and the Brahmana stayed on. But now he was fully satisfied, and he never was worried whether Nimai would come and eat or whether he would go. So this was the pastime of the Lord with the Brahmana. Yeah, I'll just say this. Now what happens? The Brahmana is stunned. Yes, I've gone through all this. Nimai grows up to become 16 years of age. At 16 years of age, he becomes what we call a great scholar. In those days, by 16 years of age, people would have gone to universities or were about to go to universities. In Singapore, we have 2.5 years of national service, where we do our service to the nation. Right? How many of you have gone to national service? Oh my God. Alright, all of you have escaped it by the good mercy of the Lord. Okay? Does that mean I'm the only Singaporean here? Alright. Thank you. So those of us who have gone to army will know how wonderful a place it is. You know? Mind you, it does give us discipline. I learned a lot from being there. But what I'm trying to tell you is, I would never have graduated at 16 to become a scholar, because I would still be doing my O-levels. But Nimai was so intelligent that at 16 years old, the recorders and history tells us, he became a grammatical teacher of Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is an ancient but difficult language, very difficult language. Now what happened is, when he became a young Sanskrit scholar, Nimai did something very different. Instead of teaching everyone just grammar, nouns, verbs and everything else, he would teach everyone grammar, but he would teach them grammar by chanting the holy names of the Lord. That's the beauty of the way he taught. And the system, till today, is actually present in West Bengal. It is still used in traditional schools. Meaning that instead of just teaching grammar, the teacher will actually use the